All right, guys, we're out here on the Sacandaga Lake. This is a place that I enjoy. You can get numbers of fish here. You're not going to get huge sizes, but we're going to be primarily fishing for smallmouth. I don't think there are any largemouth in this lake, so we're going to be fishing for smallies today. I'm tied up with a lot of smallmouth baits. Gonna pre-fish today, try to graph and find some rock piles, see if we can locate some decent sized fish. Just for context purposes, there's a lot of small fish in this lake. Anything above a 16-inch fish is a really good sized bass for this lake. I got a lot of different things tied on, mostly smallmouth bait. If you look behind me, I've got a jig and minnow, I've got a mega bass karashi, got a little Carolina rig, a few different top waters, a jerk bait, crankbait, drop shot, Ned rig, all the smallmouth staples. So I'm gonna take you with me today, and we'll see if we can land on them and figure out a pattern. Never fished on the north end of the lake. I've always stuck to the southern basin, but I'm gonna try something new today and see what we can find. That's a nice smallmouth for Sacandaga right there. Maybe not that nice. It's a 14 1/4. Thanks for playing, buddy. That's a good one. That's a 15. Alright, that's a 15. That's a nice fish. Little fat belly. Just caught that one by pitching our jig over in front of the dock here and picked it right up. See if maybe we can find us another one. So they've been hard to come by so far today. I have a feeling that we're not fishing deep enough, but I tried scoping at about 30-40 feet and I wasn't coming up with anything where we are. We're gonna have to move around a little bit and see if we can locate them. That fish was just holding to structure. Like I said in the beginning of this video, you know, this lake has a lot of fish that are in the 14-15 inch range. Anything above 16 in this lake would be considered a really good fish. I think that it has a lot to do with the fluctuating water levels. The bass population in this lake just seems to be kind of stunted. Well, I think if we figured out what we're gonna do, I saw those fish in about 20 feet of water and they're following this jig to the bottom. We gotta hammer them harder. We're not getting a good hook in them. I don't even know if that's worth measuring. It's probably a 10. Whoop. Sorry, buddy. You know, these fish, these smallmouth are so fast. They run at you. I'm using a 7-to-1 gear ratio bait casting reel and I could barely catch up to that fish. He was aggressive too. He hit just about as soon as it hit the water. Lost my weight, I lost my worm. It's a 13. You know, maybe I just haven't kept the drop shot honest enough today. I don't know. I can't tell you how many times I've fished in tournaments against guys who fish a drop shot in these smallmouth tournaments, and I get absolutely schooled. Yep, we should have been fishing a drop shot all day. Or maybe not. It's another little rock bass friend. Little fella. Different drop shot rod. This thing is spongy as shit. I can see him down there. This rod is so spongy that I can't feel him bite. Oh, he's got my jig in his mouth too. Look at this. How the heck did that happen? He's got my drop shot and he's got my jig that I just broke off. I thought I was hung up in a tree. How the heck? Look at that. That is wild. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Just got my jig back from that fish. I broke it off because I was hung up, or I thought I was hung up in a tree. I wrapped the line around my hand because I was stuck and it wasn't moving, it wasn't budging. And I could see that there's a tree down there on live scope. I broke off, threw a drop shot instead, and that fish had my jig right in his mouth. That's the craziest thing that I've ever seen. I know he's got friends down there, I can see him. He's sitting on the bottom at about 30 feet. Right between these two buoys. It's a Craziest thing I've ever seen. If you can see here on the screen, the buoy line goes all the way to the bottom. You can see my drop shot going down there, and there are fish right tucked close to the bottom. I can't even feel this fish fight. That's a big one. Maybe not. Took us all day to figure out how these fish are, what these fish will bite and where they're setting up, but now we're starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm here. All right, guys, well, that'll do it for today on the Sacandaga. I had a good time out there. It is hot. It is super hot. A little bit of a struggle today. You know, I really thought that I'd be able to get on a good football head jig bite, but that didn't really work out. This spot sets up for the way that I like to fish, but I just don't know if I'm going to be coming back here for the tournament. We'll see what happens. I salvaged the day towards the end with that drop shot bite. You know, we found a spot where there was a little bit of current moving, you know, where they're pulling water for the dam. You know, I was able to get on a little bit of a drop shot bite. That spot's a little tricky. There's some stuff in the water that's very hard to snag. I'm not really sure what happened there. Probably one of the strangest things that I've ever seen. I threw a jig out. I was fishing an OW sniper in about 30 feet of water. I could see that there was a tree limbs on the bottom. They were sticking up. I got hung up in that, and you know, I wrapped the line around my hand and I broke it off. And then I took a drop shot and I threw it back in the water, and I ended up catching a fish that had my football jig in its mouth. That's pretty wild. I've never seen anything like that before. I got my football head jig back, which I'm happy about because those aren't cheap. Those OW snipers are tungsten. It's either the tungsten OW sniper or the compound tungsten OW sniper, and those things aren't cheap. And I love those jigs. They're great. So happy to get it back. Glad you guys came with me. Hopefully you had fun watching this video, and hopefully we get out at least one more time before the next tournament, because I'd really like to find something that sets up a little bit better than this. I'm gonna have to do some map study and try to figure something out. So I'll catch you on the next one.